This is the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Matt. In this podcast, we're going to discuss growing companies, automation and manufacturing,
and how we're building the lives and businesses we want to see in the world.
All right. General feelings of the week. How is Mr. Michael feeling?
In a weird spot. So
Okay.
obviously, we talked about, what was it, a couple weeks ago? We got rid of our sales guy. Obviously that's added a lot of workload to me, which is
I
fine.
understand.
Yeah. And in trying to really get our culture aligned, I think I also discussed with you how I basically put a couple guys on probation, said, hey, if you're late, X more times, I'm going to fire you. Well, that happened. So, while we were already short staffed, now we're down a machinist. So I'm like super positive on the outlook of the business, like the amount of deal flow, the quality and quantity of projects, all those things are awesome. And at the exact same time, I'm like, the short staff problem is getting worse.
Yeah, it seems like not everything ever really aligns. If you have one challenge in one area and something's going good on the other, just like this always is chasing the biggest problem.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I was kind of like, well, I said I was going to draw a line in the sand. There's a line, you crossed it, and so now we're looking for a new machinist. So
Okay.
I'm excited to get someone in who's like the right culture fit, but man, I'm anxious because we probably should be at 6 or 7 people minimum, and now dropping to 4 is like, I'm a little panicky.
Yeah, I think just my kind of thought on that, if the team's feeling overwhelmed, you just might want to be mindful to put some like effort towards, I understand we're a team member light here, but making sure that now you don't stress people out and you create a turnover problem and lose one
Right.
more. I don't have a direct solution for you, but I would just definitely be mindful of it because it can always be like, oh, now we got to hit the timelines with less team members. Last thing you want to do is burn somebody out and lose another team member, and then your team's really stressed.
Yeah, and I think too, like with our workload not shrinking, but our headcount shrinking, I'm the communication is a lot easier, so I'm a lot more aware of how much anybody can get done in a day's time.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily, with our increase in sales, I've been able to quote longer and longer and longer lead times. But at a certain point, where I'm on a timeline to get a couple people in, and get them trained to be able to not overload everybody here.
Yeah, maybe one of the listeners is going to be messaging you. So or maybe you'll have it filled by the time this one goes live.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. I still have that itch that I talked about a week ago or 2 weeks ago to close a sale and then to kind of make me anxious about it or maybe a little disappointed. We had 2 deals fall through since the pod. One was maybe I had talked about the one because it was right when we had the one last week where they failed factory acceptance or life cycle testing.
Yep.
And then we had another one this week. The project just got canceled because of a budget cut. So it's like, it's just frustrating because it's like both those projects we thought were going through, we were the winner on the projects is what we were told. And then out of our control, they're both just, well, one I think is going to be paused. I think it'll be coming back in just at a delayed date. And then the other one just like complete budget cut with unplanned return for spend.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting to see that.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. I know that, man, like the down months without closing a big win are tough.
Yeah, it's never a joy, but just got to keep on the emails and on the calls. And that's basically what I've been following up on because we had ProMat last week, we had a pile of really good leads. And then we changed our processes a little bit on who went to. I guess I'm rolling into sales and marketing now since that's number 2.
Let's roll in.
Yeah, since we changed our processes a little bit on how we do shows. Basically, if you had a personal conversation with what we call a 4 or a 5-star, where we're having those team members reach out directly that within that week of meeting those, where it used to always just kind of fall back on me or maybe the marketing agency to send those emails. There's just a different level of, hey, remember talking to me? And then they introduce Matt to the conversation to work on scoping out the project for them. So ideally the engineers can step out because that's not their role. They're just helping on the sales side because we need more qualified people in the booth when we have those shows. So that's kind of the process we're trying, and we're seeing really good engagement with those leads. So
Yeah, I mean that's having recently hired like a kind of hardcore like sales guy, salesy sales guy.
yeah,
The and having never had like actual technical sales guys before that, I am starting to really, I think, appreciate the like idea of an apps engineer or sales engineer role. Um,
hmm
and one thing I'm starting to play with in my head a little bit, I know that I need to get a machinist in like yesterday, and then additionally, I kind of want to try to bridge that sales engineering gap. And the concept I'm playing with is like, can we get someone who understands the technology, does turnkeys, does work on the floor, but can also be that customer facing guy, to kind of bridge that gap. And I'm wondering if
that
something similar would be good for you.
that would yeah, it is an interesting idea because you could have them doing the installs. While they're doing the installs, they're learning how the process of why people are buying them, and they can
Hmm.
be upselling. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is an interesting approach there. Having them dual as the field tech, basically, is what you're saying.
Not even necessarily. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a field tech, but someone who, in some capacity or other, is on the floor, and whether on the floor is actually in the office and on SolidWorks,
Oh, I see what you're
or
saying.
out on a machine or whatever, but is personable enough to actually go through a slide deck, and maybe
Mm.
there's some level of, okay, you need to run it by Matt before we go in and turn this into a proposal, but that's something I've been thinking about as a way for us to potentially, get someone to help with the turnkeys, but also to help push on the sales front so I can step back a little bit from being so involved in these, like day-to-day details.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know we've tried a number of like split roles over the years that are like operations, if you will, and then like forward looking. And what happens is the day to day always gets in the way of that forward looking, sales being the forward looking one in this scenario. Um, I like the idea on the surface. I need to think about that one a little bit more, on how that could play out positively and or negatively.
Yeah. And I
'Cause-
think this is something we both probably have done early along. It turned out to be a bad idea,
yeah,
in,
so
in different capacities. But the thing that makes me convinced in I think both of us have such technical products with such technical purchasers that, and maybe a little bit less for you.
oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying the person's background in sales will be technical or engineering.
Well, potentially. I'm more saying like if I had to go one way or the other, I am thinking maybe you put, like for us, maybe we hire an engineer who's personable, and
Mhm.
then get them to be able to run through a slide deck, or maybe we have them be like almost an account manager, and then maybe they're actually doing the back end engineering of some of the project too.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I see the way you're looking at it. Yeah, I agree with the having a technical person or an engineer. I question the amount of execution of the work they should be handling if we're going to be hiring dedicated sales, but it is tough because I guess I'm looking at it from my pain point of like
Hmm.
right now, I'm spending currently 20-ish hours a week on sales is what kind of my baseline goal is. And then so that's 1,000 hours. We then
Yeah.
have for the proposal drafting, we've earmarked 1,200 engineering hours for the year. So right there, that's 22. I mean, that's over a full-time gig. So if we pulled and had one person just doing both of those was a question that we've had on the team. But my challenge with that is we pull from all engineering disciplines for the 1,200 engineering hours earmarked because
Hmm.
sometimes it's an electrical heavy project, sometimes it's a vision heavy project, sometimes it's user interface configurability, and sometimes it's just a straight mechanical project. So it's like we leverage all those when we're going through proposal.
Yeah.
I'm just posing the challenges that because I've racked my brain over trying to solve the sales role problem multiple times, and I don't have a solution. So I'm posing my problems back to you of why I haven't pulled the
Yeah,
trigger
and that's
already.
one thing, when when I was like really really aggressive about hiring, I went through, I don't know, like 7 or 8 executive assistants, like virtual ones.
Hmm.
And it kind of always ended up in roughly the same problem where they became less and less effective, and you track their hours and pretty sure they're working multiple jobs. At least if
Yeah.
you find them like through an agency or anything. But anyways, like that was one thing that, we made all these SOPs, all these documents about, training, staff at kind of a, an EA level, right? What you would expect, not highly technical, to be
Hmm.
able to, even pick up the phone and answer what are, generally pretty technical questions from like an apps engineer at the companies who are potentially using our products. And again and again and again, I would listen to those call recordings and it was like, I'm putting my hand in my head. Little things like, calling a vise a clamp or, calling an end mill a cutter, will just immediately cause your client base to disengage and be like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about when you have a technical product. And I think that's kind of been one of the things I've been seeing as, man, if you don't have that technical background, it's really hard to sell a very technical product. And that's, I think, why I'm, leaning towards as we build out the team, trying to get someone highly technical who isn't me in that sales role, as opposed to the way I've approached it in the past.
Could you do since you're so product based and going, granted you're working upmarket as you've been saying, but a lot of it is productized. Would it make sense for you to get a videographer, videotape more of your content, and then build out videos, and then maybe in HubSpot,
Hmm.
if somebody comes in, because you can link everything on your Shopify store to, all right, they're looking at this product, and then you just automate a drip campaign.
Yep.
And once they fall into a campaign, you then launch these videos, these tutorials, these educational pieces about that product. So you just start with your top 20% movers on your website. You focus on those first and see if this even works. But could you just automate a lot of your sales job in this application? Because I think of like
Hmm.
e-commerce products, stuff like that, having done a little bit in that space, like you can do hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of e-com sales, like with very little effort once the system's built.
Yeah. So what I'll say is like that is done to some extent, but not as well as it should be. So I think like you, I've been targeting 20, 25 hours a week of sales right now. I've pretty much pulled away back from R&D to try to, focus in, figure out what scale the company should be, make sure all our projects are on track, which is especially hard right now because like we have more turnkeys than we've ever had. We have more product going out than we've ever had, and we're short staffed. But that's neither here nor there. With wherever we like can have videos of how a product operates, and they're pretty much there. Like we have step files, engineering drawings, basic manuals and documentation there for every single product. The part that I think I'm missing and we've been failing on that you mentioned is going and like one thing in our Shopify store we need to do at some point is enable accounts. And that way, when someone signs into their account, now there's a cookie there and we can go and create that drip campaign automatically. So like there's tools for us to do that that we're not using.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that on HubSpot because then you can create tasks based on that too. So if somebody continuously goes to pages, you can track. It gets really creepy once you see how
Yeah.
many cookies, and like I
Yeah.
realize some listeners are probably like, man, that's that's creepy what they can do,
But
but
I will say it's getting
it is
harder and
interesting.
harder. Like, and do you use Chrome like
Do
for
I
your browser
personally?
extension?
I am a mixed user, we'll say at this
Okay.
point. So because of
Whatever
everything,
pops up.
well, kind of. For work, I've moved everything to Microsoft, and
Okay.
then at home, I kind of bounce between Chrome. But it used to be 100% Chrome, and I would say now I'm 80% Microsoft, if not greater, and probably approaching zero for Chrome.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is like for the consumer side, and this is not something I like on the business side, but I get it. The tracking has been getting worse and worse. There was the Apple Adpocalypse thing where they basically shut down, all of the trackability between, multiple devices.
Hmm.
Now Chrome, there's probably something similar in Edge that has like a little eyeball and it's like on the top right of your like search bar and it says third party cookies allowed and the default is off. And that will kill your tracking. And we've seen even further declines in effectiveness of ad targeting with that.
Yeah.
Um, so it is getting better for the consumer, but worse for people like us who want to target as well as we can.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of other things if they're
Yeah.
engaging with your email, stuff like that. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say we've
yeah.
relied a whole lot on. I just think it's cool that I can see all this stuff. Actually, I shouldn't say we haven't relied on. a whole lot. We haven't relied on that or really used any of that anyways. It's
Hmm.
just interesting to be able to see that. Like when I'm talking to somebody on the phone, like I can see you did some of these things, but I haven't really found a utility for it yet.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, so you're like tracking those things in HubSpot, and you're like, oh, you can see, okay, they went to this web page, then that web page, then that web page.
A lot of it was from when we built out our Google ads. So when you built out your ad campaigns or LinkedIn campaigns, you want to see, all right, these leads came from the campaigns. Well, ads and LinkedIn will say you've got certain ones from there. You want to
Hmm.
track then where they went from there. Were they a good lead? Because ads are expensive, as you know. So it's like if they're not working, you need to cut bait and move
Hmm.
on sooner than later.
Yeah. The whole CRM rabbit hole, and I know, what was it, like 2 or 3 months ago, I was like pounding on you like, oh, you got to do an email newsletter, you got to do this, you got to post on Instagram once a day, LinkedIn once a day, and that is where I've totally fallen off the boat. We're down to
Yeah.
like an average of 1 post a week. I haven't done a newsletter in 4 weeks. The
Yeah. Our cadence has been kind of set at trying to do a LinkedIn post once a week. That's what I aim to do. That's all I've kind of really done for the last year. So I've maintained that. I agree that maybe upping that, because what I'm seeing is while we do that
Mhm.
across Develop and Matt's page, I'm gaining followers faster on my personal LinkedIn than we are on Develop.
Oh yeah, pull it out on your personal and then just repost it off
It,
of your company page.
that's so I
Okay,
typically
yeah.
put it on the company page and then repost it to my personal. But what's funny is there will be a 2-to-1 ratio follower increase on personal versus business.
Yeah. Matt, we're making like 2 or 3 map podcast shorts for you a week that are shared with you for LinkedIn. Have you not been posting them?
I post one of them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. That's what I 2 to 3 a week.
Yeah, there should be at least 2 a week.
Oh, I've been using my favorite one of those
Oh,
per
okay.
week. I thought
Yeah.
that was the goal of it, since it was like AI clipped out. I was like, oh,
Oh,
my favorite's
however you
this.
wanna use it.
Yeah, my favorite is this one, and then I use that.
Yeah. I mean, Priscilla probably goes and looks at like 6 of the AI ones and then chooses the best 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the more cadence, the better. The difference in growth between 1 post a week and 5 is just it's exponential. But
Interesting.
I'm
Yeah, maybe I need to do better then.
but it's hard, especially like when you feel squeezed or under the pressure to do, sales or operations.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a couple things I need to clear off my plate, which is starting to slowly occur. I'm moving more into sales and marketing. The team's really operating well. But yeah, that's a good point. Try and get that cadence up. And then Instagram, we're trying to do every 3 days. So we'll see.
Yep. Yep. And I think I mentioned we were doing a little bit of playing with influencer marketing.
Yeah, how's that going? Because that's been a conversation we've had internally as well. Is that
So
working?
so we've done like 2 of these like sponsored behind the scenes like posts, right? One of them was very, very, very expensive, and one of them was incredibly cheap. The very expensive one didn't really perform like up to what we had expected. And we're gonna do like a second post to see if it performs differently.
Okay.
The cheaper one, performed much, much, much worse, but the ROI was a lot better, right? Because it was just so much cheaper. We're talking orders
Oh,
of magnitude cheaper. Um, and kind of the question is like, okay, well, there's only so many of these influencers, and the price is very wildly, and I don't know. We're trying to figure out how repeatable and how sustainable it is.
do you think those influencers, the ones you're using, would also work for Develop for our like vacuum fixture systems?
Probably, yeah,
Would you be willing to share that
sure,
with me
yeah,
after this?
yeah, of course,
Maybe send an email.
yeah.
Then we can
And
share the love. We can maybe get some group discounts with these influencers.
yeah. So, we've only tried 2 of these so far, and really I was trying to replicate, like, we have every time we have a post go viral, it's like the best lead gen that I can ask for, and we pay no money for it. And I really wanna start replicating that because, man, you get 1 viral Instagram post. Have you had, like, a 500,000 view Instagram?
We had so our best one, I don't know how many views it was, but we had 600 followers.
Yep.
So Hunter, our videographer, he's like, yeah, we had this one post, Matt. And I'm like, no way we had 600 followers from one post. That seems
Mhm.
like insane. And he pulls it up on his phone. I'm like, holy crap, how'd that happen?
I can look. I can see if you had a.
It's the like I remember because it was like towards the beginning of when he started his internship with us.
Hmm.
And he's like, I just want you to jump in front of the camera and say, let's talk about automation. And then he did like a bunch of quick cutting shots around the shop of us building machines. Because that one that was 500,000 views yielded basically $20,000 worth of ad spend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a. I guess that was pretty much it. I just really want to replicate that, and I've really been trying.
Yeah,
But
why wouldn't you want to replicate that?
yeah.
That sounds like a solid win.
Well, yeah, we've done it like 4 or 5 times, but the also I'm trying to make up for the fact that I've been really off the marketing bandwagon, and you know,
Yeah.
hats off to you guys. That you're the when I go all in, I go all in, but you guys are just remarkably consistent at your a couple posts a week, and I could learn a
Yeah.
little from that.
I don't know. It's,
Uh,
we still have a lot to get better at. Something that on the sales and marketing, if we got one more topic that I listed down, something I want
Mhm.
to discuss that I want to replicate more of because of something that happened this week. We had a project that we've been in the process of getting a meeting with from Pack Expo. So Pack
Mhm.
Expo was what was it, November of last year, end of October? I can't remember the exact date. But it was a project for packaging and palletizing. We were informed that we weren't going to get the project or be able to bid on the one project because they had already narrowed it down to 2 vendors and it was too late. I'm like, all right, that's
Mhm.
not a problem. You have another project that you want me to come in and look at. And while I'm there, why don't I just help? I can look at that other project and provide any of my advice that I recommend to make sure that when you're deciding between the 2 vendors that you've already narrowed it down to, you pick the best one.
Right.
So something that I replicated and a pain that I've seen is we started talking like, all right, so you have some numbers and can I ask what they're roughly coming in at? I don't need exact numbers, just curious. And I heard some numbers that were really low. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
think something's wrong here.
Yep.
So let's start digging into this. And so we started looking at their application. Their boxes are coming down the line and they're clearly bubbled and blistered. They're not
Mm.
coming down level. Like, all right, so what robot, what gripper? And then I see another box come down that the top tape, the top is actually caved in and the tape's not even holding it up. I'm like,
Mhm.
what gripper was spec for this? There's ways you can automate this. And it was like, oh, it's a simple foam. I'm assuming it was a Julin. They didn't tell me the exact name of it. I'm like, all right, you're gonna have challenges here with a cobot and that combination. And then I educated him on what to look for, maybe ways to scope that differently. And then I was like, all right, so how are you justifying your application to? And then they're like, what do you mean by justification? I'm like, well, robots, one of the biggest things is making sure that, the box or what you're working with, singulation and orientation is one of the top things. So make sure that
Mhm.
box is in the same spot every time. So when the robot goes to grab it, it picks it up. It's like, oh, we just had him coming down the straight conveyors. We can't, the robot doesn't have vision, so it can just see it and pick it up. It's like, well, did you have this scoped in there? I'm assuming not for the price that I heard.
Right.
Like, no, we don't have any vision on the application. We thought the robot could just like sense that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's like there's this education journey,
Yeah.
but one of the main reasons that we put so much educational stuff on our website is not that like these guys were doing their best scope of the project. There wasn't a lack of effort by any means. It was just they didn't know what they didn't know.
Mhm.
Uh, and so we walked through that, and I'm like, all right, I would recommend a skewed conveyor, or if you're running all the same boxes, but from what I gather, you're not. You can't do a justification system that's just a simple bar. So you're either going to need a skewed conveyor or you're going to need some type of pusher justification system so you can pick it up. And they're like, okay, so that was mixed. So we talked about the gripper, we talked about how they don't have justification. And then we started talking about safety as well and their cobots with it and what they were trying to do for working zone because they're trying to stack 104 inches high with a 40-pound box.
Mm.
So
Yep.
we're going above human head with a 40-pound box, ISO safety restrictions, A3 safety restrictions. Just because it says cobot doesn't mean you can't put a router on the end of a
Yeah, it doesn't
cobot
mean
and call
everything's
it
cobot rated.
call it safe. And so I just walked him through and educated him on that. And we get to the end of it and we also started talking about the next project, which develops a perfect fit from what I'm gathering. I have to go. It's actually in a different facility. They were just they're headquartered at this one. They have multiple facilities across the US. So I'll be going to that one here shortly. But we get to the end of it and they're like, could you have a proposal for this packaging and palletizing line in the next 3 weeks? Because we have to cut a PO in 3 weeks. And we want to put your bid in now, even though we told you couldn't
Mhm.
earlier on. And it's just like, how do I replicate that? Because I've heard so many times over the last several years where we lost a bid because we were high.
hmm
And then I hear from those customers in the future of, oh, we got hit with this change order, or we never got our machine. Or I hear the number and I'm like, that was the cost of our parts plus like
Right.
20%. So like, where's the disconnect?
Do
But
you?
then it's like, it was clearly an
Yeah.
education. So like, how do I continue to educate these customers better?
Yeah. Do you think that that might be something that, especially with like smaller outfits, might be inherent in the industry? Is that possible? That people just underbidding and then going and telling their customers midstream, "Hey, we need a CO because we didn't scope out this thing that they obviously needed in order to win the project." Is that?
I fear that that's a thing.
Yeah,
My dad was in the construction industry, and that was something
which
that
is
they
industry
always
standard and gross.
in construction, and that's something Dad and I have talked about. And he's like, Matt, I saw this a lot in my space, but what I definitely saw is the people that did that didn't stay in the game. We
hmm
continued to just be truthful and honest with our customers and continue to bid what we thought was the correct way to do it. And you're going to still have challenges within engineering projects, but make sure that those aren't challenges that you knew were there and you just put the low bid in to get the project.
hmm
So I think you're right. I think some of that's there. I also think there's a lot of new people coming into the automation market to build machines. Cause I know we had challenges on this in the past where we had underbid projects, but we just absorbed the cost. So hopefully
Right.
that's what these other companies are doing. I question if they are, but I think there's twofold. I think there's some gross just, yeah, if we underbid this, we can hit them with an ECO later
hmm
because we know there's going to be something else they'll ask for. And then I
I
think the
got an
other one,
idea on that front. Because we ran into something similar with the intraload system. We when it's spec'd out, we do have everything, with line items, shipping, install, it the full 9 pallets and work holding. And, usually when the thing's fully optioned out for the intraload for like a UMC, it's like $49,000-$50,000.
okay.
And, we realized people were comparing us against like the Haas $100,000 system. But the Haas $100,000 system, it doesn't have 9 pallets, it has 3. It doesn't have any vices, right? It lacks some of these just kind of fundamental, it lacks install, And when you go and you build it out exactly the same, you realize, hey, this isn't 50 versus 100, this is 50 versus 170. And what we did now is change the standard from going and making one big quote to 2 little quotes, where it's like, here's what it is, kind of up against the competition, and here's how you should configure it fully built out.
Yeah. The issue is I don't know what our competition's scoping,
Right.
or I can't go see that because this is a common thing that I'll say. I want to make sure we're bidding apples to apples. The way we have approached it is we've made our bidding cycle a little bit different, where we used to put a proposal together that was like, we asked a bunch of questions up front and then we just went straight to the finish. Now what we do is we ask a few questions up front. We hand sketch it out, draft out a proposal. We have a meeting. We ask
hmm
more questions. We get their buy-in. So then they start seeing why decisions were made to scope their project that way. I have yet to know if this is going to increase our conversion rate because we've really only changed this in the last 4 months.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But that's been the way we've kind of been approaching it, because the apples to apples is a serious challenge. Because if you don't know what you're buying, like the application I was talking about earlier in the call was, they very much thought that these two bids were pretty much the same, which those two probably were, but
Right.
from everything that was scoped for them wasn't going to work, and very clearly wasn't going to work once I sat on their line for 20 minutes and watched the boxes come down.
hmm Yeah, and part of that might be this just them going and copy pasting a quote for a similar ish project, and then they see if they win it and deal with the consequences later.
I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's something that's teaching me as we grow our sales team to look out for,
Yeah.
because I definitely never want that to trickle into our sales SOP of, hey,
hmm
this is just like the last three palletizing projects, because we're picking up a box and we're putting on a pallet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably enough on that topic.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other thing back to the like, non-technical sales guy. It could be some guy who's good at sales and is like, oh, this proposal is going to win. and he clones some proposal from a much simpler application, sends it out, and then they might win the bid, but the reality is that company is either going to lose their shirt on it, trying to get where the project should be and should be built out to, or they're gonna CO the project to death and piss off the customer. And so you're right, it's not a good long term strategy, but
Yeah.
the challenge is like if and how you compete with that.
Yeah, I think the way we compete with it is just bid our projects correctly, minimize our change orders as much as possible, and play the long game, just as what develop's been built on over the last decade is
Hmm.
doing that. And it's resulted in a lot of referrals and repeat customers. So I don't plan on changing that strategy one bit just because the
Hmm.
market's choosing to do something else.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to bring up one last thing. I think I mentioned this last week. Our CPA sent me this. I had a couple questions. She pops up in QuickBooks. Makes a Loom video or whatever software, and
Hmm.
just sends it to me.
Okay.
And I was like, that is awesome. Like it feels so much different from like getting an email. You get so much more detail. And I told myself at multiple times in the past that I was going to start doing that, and I actually started.
Nice.
So as opposed to like either customer leads that have like an early technical question or there's some roadblock, or especially when I've been trying to get like a lead on the phone that's like almost there, but whatever, it just doesn't, our timelines don't line up or they're not answering or whatever. I just make a Loom video, pop open SolidWorks with like how, what the question is or what we need to address, send it
Beautiful.
over. And man, that really has helped get a lot of those things over that hump at the very final stretch.
Good deal.
Yeah, I think John Saunders uh, years back made a video on how he more or less did the same thing of just sending customers videos.
Hmm.
That's I think that's a tool to keep in your back pocket that seems to work really well.
For sure. I like it.
Cool.
Engineering and R&D. You said you've been cutting
Oh,
back.
so I don't have much. We have kind of one and a half legacy engineering T&M projects. One of them has been running behind, but it's really low budget and small compared to like the scale of the company now. So we basically go and every month dedicate a week of one guy's time to keep the project on track. The That's been going. The extra load is still going, but I'm really kind of disconnected from it. But that was Anish's project, our senior mechanical engineer, and that he actually designed a couple years ago. So he's been overseeing that. It's kind of been like passive work orders. The Yeah, I mean, my head has really just been in sales and marketing for once,
That's
and
good.
yeah, and actually just sales because I got to be honest, I've been failing in marketing this last couple of weeks, and it's been fine, but I think I'm going to have a hard time next month in sales if I keep that up, right? Because the
See,
inbound won't be there.
and it's interesting because like the way we've gone about SEO is my goal is last 12 months was so focused and in this I should say we
Hmm.
still got through April to finish the main objectives that we had for the website and our marketing. And so we're actually talking with our agency. We're in the process of actually tapering back our marketing with them. So then it's pivoting more towards me on the sales rather than getting a lot of this marketing up and going and just getting a constant cadence. And they're even agreeing like, yeah, we built all this stuff out. We had a very large campaign plan with them, and now we're going into a maintenance for the next 6 months to see how everything works. So like, there's a point where you just want to stop changing things.
Yeah.
So
But I gotta call a spade a spade. Like, there's a difference between maintenance and just not looking at it. We put out like one SEO article in the last like 2 months, which it just isn't
oh
good enough. Yeah.
yeah, and so our plan is we're going to basically drop down to we're still going to have 2 blogs or knowledge bases being created per month, and then we're going to be updating and reposting some of the ones that are trending. So there's still
Hmm.
a good amount of stuff they're going to be doing. There was just so much creation we had to do on our website. I mean, you see what's done on our
Yeah. Yeah.
website and in the last 12 months, and then I'm really excited about what's happening in the next 6 weeks here in prep for Automate. We've got a solid in like basically UX UI revision that's occurring, and it's going to start trickling out soon. So I'm really jacked about it.
Engineering R&D now, the sales and marketing too.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. Yeah. Matt's always in sales and marketing mind. Engineering and R&D for us. The new CNCs arrived.
Yeah,
So
I saw.
that's
I
being
saw. Congrats.
thank you. Yeah, it's being commissioned. So it's a BVM 5700 from DN. We like our bridge mills. We have a Datron
Hmm.
now. We have a BVM 5700. That thing is a beast. Holy
Yeah.
crap! Like I knew when we were buying it how much it weighed and how rigid it was, but like I was talking to David, our machinist. I'm like, man,
Hmm.
this thing is bigger now. You know, you see it at IMTS, and then it's sitting on your floor next to the Datron, and the Datron looks like this little,
Hmm.
you know, just this tiny little machine.
I mean, it's designed to go in an office. It was in your basement, right? Like,
Yeah, the M8 Cube was in my basement.
yeah,
But what's funny is it has the same X travels.
yeah. But it's
And
a different machine.
yeah, and so then he's like, Matt, you just gotta. He slides the 16-foot ladder up next to it. And he's like, there's
Hmm.
only one way to explain it. Look down. And I crawl up there, and the casting is just ginormous. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
that is totally why this thing weighs this much and is this big.
Wait, what are the travels on that machine?
It is 1,000 by 570, or it's like
Okay.
1,040 by 570.
Oh, metric.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting is we were
Yeah.
looking for a machine that could cover our vacuum fixture systems, uh, up to that 500 by 900.
Yep.
So like most 4020 machines fell out. And then
Hmm.
like we were wanting like, well, the next machine we want is a ginormous like
Yeah.
Kitamura or the DN gantry style. I realized first machine just landed. Now we
Hmm.
want the next one, but standard machinist, right?
Hmm.
That's what the travels are. And so that's what we struggled with, was finding one that could make those products for us. So we had some redundancy from the Datron.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think I may have mentioned this. We're getting rid of our gantry mill.
Mhm.
We have a Haas GR510. I think you probably want something nicer. That's probably like the entry level of like decent gantry mills, and it's like it shines in aluminum, and it's like fine and everything else.
Yeah, I'm really leaning towards the DN makes one or the
Mhm.
Kitamura. We're looking at like a $500,000 when we go to the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So,
Those are machines that like they're so heavy and big and obnoxious, and
yeah, that'll be
and,
when we're in a different building, I think,
mhm,
or we at least have a bigger building. So the
yeah,
additions on this one.
yeah. And I've really decided like, okay, that machine's gonna go because we just don't use it, and it was I don't know, like 225 when we bought it. So there, and the loan's still there. So
Mhm.
and we've actually started to look a little bit at like refining some of our debt, because it turns out it's kind of hindering our cash flow because we have all these machine payments.
Mhm. Look
Which has
into
been its own.
Look into that SBA 7A. I still
Mm,
firmly
yeah.
believe. I think I said that a couple back, but I really want to iterate that in case you haven't gotten into that. The 7A is going to be and what you can do there, Michael, is there's a lot
Hmm.
of really cool things they're doing on operational cash flow. So talk to somebody that specializes in SBA lending and look at the 7A. It takes 90 to 180 days to get an SBA loan,
Yeah.
but if it's the right fit and the fees make sense, they're really powerful.
Yeah, we talked with one bank, which we're kind of like halfway down the process, and I think it's like partially SBA backed or something, but they seem much more fond of just trying to like refi our current debt, buy out the existing loans from the machine tools, and then one other random loan, and it looks like it'll help cash flow a lot, but I don't know if it's an approach I'll have to see, because there's obviously like early payoff penalties that now we're diving into and doing the math on to
Mhm.
see if it makes enough sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
how many year loan are you looking at?
like 10. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I would say
yeah.
if it's like a 5 or a 7, I wouldn't worry about early payoff penalties, just keep the debt. Yeah, when you get into the 10 to 15, sometimes
Well,
you
no,
do
no,
just
no.
wanna
So
pay
like
them off.
the refi would be on a 10-year period, and then
Oh, your current loans have
yeah,
early.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
those are machine loans that are on like 5-year, and then it gets even more awkward because one of them's the GR, which is a machine that like I want out. But
Yeah, how's that work? So if you sell the machine,
you
who's
still
it?
get early payoff penalty. So, realistically with the depreciation of the machine, I mean, it's pretty new. I think we bought it in like 22. And but you're going to eat significant depreciation on any CNC machine. The So, realistically on that machine that was like what, 225, we'll pay off the loan, pay off the penalties, then we got to pay the 15% to, whatever consignment broker, cuz I'm not going to try to, pound the doors trying to sell the thing. And then, realistically we'll be lucky to get, 50K out of it once the of like principal back once all the fees are paid.
Yeah, I was just running some math based on what you came
Yeah.
up with. I came up with 77,000 was what you're gonna
Yeah.
get out of that
Yeah.
thing.
hmm
It
Yeah.
just
Well, the other 20 is going to go hopefully into moving the water jet, which is something I still have mixed feelings about, like whether I want to bring that messy ass machine into the nice pristine shop.
how big is that water jet? I don't
Yeah.
have context on this.
It's a 60 by 120. That's the
How
cutting area.
how much was that thing?
300.
300, okay.
Yeah.
So I know the teams brought up like, "Oh, it'd be really nice to have a water." We're definitely not in the
Don't let them.
yeah, we're I've worked with
If you
water
have a
jets.
tent, or a space or can put it outside with like a roof covering, slam dunk.
Well,
If not,
outside, that's interesting. That'd be
yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
mean, I could turn it into an ice rink in Wisconsin. Can you salt them?
I've seen it. Especially in whatever reason, like, every once in a while we'll do an event that's like hosted at a university, and universities love to throw that thing outside.
Yeah,
I think
you're in
Caltech did that.
California.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah,
I mean,
that's probably why. Probably a bad idea in Wisconsin.
yeah. So,
Fair enough.
yeah, I'd have ducks in it. Ducks
Yeah.
or ice.
We had a rubber ducky in there for a long time. I don't know what happened to it. Probably got hit by the water jet and sunk.
Probably. Oh, that'd
Yeah.
be good. So that's been the main focus. And then otherwise for R&D here, we have like, oh my gosh, we have so many boxes erected all over
Uh-huh.
because it's in testing phase of our case erector. They erected, I think it's like 5,000 pounds of boxes.
Oh my god.
We have like, and we still have pallets to go to verify the other sizes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because
So
they
what do you
asked
do?
me,
Like break them down and recycle them, or can you
well,
like?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we talked about. But it's like, there's so many, like, and we need some of these cases to then test our case packing that's coming up here in a couple months. So like, oh, we need to save some of these. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, yeah. Because when they brought it up, what do we do with them? Like, start a bonfire, throw them outside, start them on fire. I don't like, that's going to be the quickest way.
Right, because you're not going to reprocess the same box. Like you're not going to break it down and do it again, right?
No. So
Yeah.
they need some of it for case packing testing is what we need. And then, yeah, the rest will have to get broke down. But it's like, because the team's been doing for the last, not the entire team, one team member's been testing that thing for the last 3 days. So it's just been erecting cases straight. And on the positive side, we
Yeah.
have less than 0.8% failure. So less than 1 in 100 fail on the case erection, which
Is this
better.
MRS or is this a custom?
It's the MRS module.
Yep.
So it'll be the case erector that goes with MRS, but we're using an industrial robot for a specific case. And the case is actually a very difficult case to erect. So I think the MRS with standard case is going to be way higher reliability. So
Right.
that's a huge plus out of the testing metrics that we're seeing.
Yeah. But that sounds like a nightmare.
It is like, I look out there, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a literal Fortnite, bring some packing blankets here and build something stupid for marketing.
Some nonsense YouTube video that takes place in a warehouse.
Yeah. So we
That's
shall
what
see.
I thought when you said like boxes and boxes and boxes of just.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Because they're all erected.
Have fun with
Okay.
that. You just got U-line trucks coming by every day.
Yeah. They're from their cardboard
Oh,
supplier.
okay. Yeah, they're like, yeah, they're
So
drop shipping the boxes to you.
That was part of the reason we put the racking up is we filled almost that entire racking with just their boxes to give some context of how many erected boxes there are.
Yeah. Well, it's good planning at least.
Sure. Anything else for you on R&D?
No, I mean we got a new, like more compact GIMVAC that I need to finalize the design on. We've been playing around with trying to get some more competitive pricing on some of our products because a lot of the stuff we outsource. Because especially as we get we're so short staffed right now that we got to do everything we can for processing turnkeys, making parts, and but I still want to have that like level of consistent improvement, which is really hard without a machinist here. So I guess the sales and marketing thing combined with not having a machinist to like run the R&D parts has totally killed that for at least a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of your focus for a period of time. So I don't view it as a bad that you're being redirected, let's say, into the sales and marketing. I think it's going to be a solid outcome.
We do have one thing that needs to get done. We had there were some snafus with our old sales guy like not scoping out things as much as he should have. And one of those is we had a machine that in our notes was 2020 for that interload was going on, which was actually 2019. And it turns out, on the UMC 750, which is the machine in question, the Jenna machine is actually different. So, now what we have, two of these UMC 750 interloads coming up. They were supposed to be the same project twice. And now we got to go do the engineering to make it Gen 2 compatible. So I'm pretty annoyed about that because that wasn't in the plans. It's going to even overload us a little more, but that is what it is. It has to get done.
Yeah, that is an interesting challenge there. That one sounds like an honest mistake.
No, it totally was an honest mistake, but it's definitely frustrating operationally, like looking at the timelines, like, oh man, how are we going to get this done?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I know you can do it, Michael.
I know, but I think as time goes on, like I'm getting less and less aggressive and like less and less prone to saying yes. And I think like the reason we took on this project on a faster timeline was because it was local, right? And because like, okay, we want to get an additional test unit locally before we go install one on the other side of the US, which is, another 6 weeks after that. And now that totally defeats the point because they're different gens. Yeah.
I chuckled at the no comment because I don't know, probably a month or so ago, I started tracking in my daily journal how many no's I say in a week, and I have a goal of how many no's I'm going to say in a week to things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's really weird to like there's a point where you just have to pick what you can say yes to. And so now I have a goal number of things that I'm gonna try and say no to in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen like impacts from focus on the team. Like it has direct impacts by saying no to things.
Yeah, like one thing I can think of, we still have left up our like old gimbal water jet site, and I just had the realization like, why the hell is that still up?
That's
And,
actually
yeah,
I was confused because I searched gimbal for some reason on Instagram, and I went there and I was like, this is different than normal. And then I went back and saw what it was. You should take that down because I bet that's creating confusion.
yeah,
Or
and
can you
like
merge them?
I could just go in Squarespace, tell it to forward to the new site, and then I can just pull down the old Instagram. But
Can you combine those? Could you combine that gimbal water jet into your
I don't
automation
think
one?
so. I don't
I
think
would
so.
look into that before just
Okay.
canning it.
Yeah,
I'd
you're
Google
right.
that.
Yeah, that's definitely. Can you
'Cause
combine
that has to be a
Instagrams?
thing. Because if you acquire a business and it has an Instagram profile, I've seen where
Have you
they
tried
mer-
to use Meta's ad support or like their paid support?
oh, it's
It's
terrible.
it's
It's
so
terrible.
bad.
We have
Um,
one post I want to boost, and they keep saying that we have a product tag to it, and it's like there is no product tag to this.
mhm.
Like I've literally gone in and I've tagged every single product we have, and then untagged them. And for a blip second, it'll say no tag products you can boost, and then like 12 seconds later, it's like you can't boost because it's like
Yeah. I mean, we've spent, I don't know, at least $100,000 with Meta. And the only like person that you can get to talk to you is a sales guy. It's so frustrating. Like, so I just have zero confidence that we that we could successfully do that and it go off without a hitch.
I Google
But
it.
I will look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other company-wide updates and improvements?
Oh yeah, we basically, I think the morale has like gotten a lot better. Which is good to see. We threw out the Gantt chart system temporarily, and just moved to a whiteboard, which at least everything's crystal clear. That's definitely going to break down pretty soon, once we hire back that staff. But
Oh yeah.
did I cut out there?
No, I was just
Oh.
saying, oh yeah, agreeing to you
Yep.
that it sounds like a solid solution for now, but you know it's going to break again in the future.
And then we basically are reorganizing all of our Kanban bins for all of our assembly stuff, to color code it and make sure like gripper stuff is by the grippers, and like tumble blast stuff is by the tumble basket stuff, and then color coding what vendor source it comes from. Is it an in-house
that's
part?
interesting.
Yeah. Is it a McMaster part? Is it an Amazon part? Or is it a domestic vendor part? Like whatever. Which is promising, but that's like something we just started today.
Yeah. It's interesting because since we started putting up that high bay racking, we've also gone through like all of our other storage. Because we've had We had the big DTSC leave the floor at the end of last year. We shipped all their spare parts.
What's the DTSC? Is that the extrusion
The
machine?
extrusion processing
Yeah.
machine. Yeah, it's the drill tap stamp cut machine. Is we love our acronyms, MRS, VFS. It's we can't just say what it
Yep.
is. But yeah, that left, and so it was like cleaning up stuff from that of all the carts. We have a bunch of just legacy stuff that it was like we just don't need any of this stuff anymore, or like stuff from 2019 client stuff we did or R&D we had done. So it was just like
Yeah.
lots of cleanup. Like we probably filled like 5 yards worth of trash cans of stuff that we definitely didn't need to be inventorying anymore.
And it feels bad, right? Like as a bootstrapper, at least for me.
Oh, it doesn't bother me. I love it.
Oh, really?
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It was just one of those, like, I've been throwing stuff away for the last couple days. Like, oh my gosh, that's my method of cleaning is fill trash cans.
Yeah, I mean, we got these like bankers boxes of like all these legacy projects, and it's like, I like open one of the boxes and I'm like, there's $1,200 of cross roller bearings in here, and I'm like, am I really just gonna throw this away? And then it sits there another year, and then inevitably like 2 years go by, they're rusted, and it's like, well, it's easy to throw them out now.
Yeah. So what we did is if it was under $100 and you only had one of them, you were free and clear to throw it away. If you had more than that, if it was more than $100 or you had more of them equating to significantly more than $100, it went on what we call an eBay cart now.
Okay.
And so that's what our intern does is if he'll also load stuff on eBay and manage that. So that's something we've done. There's a lot of stuff that got thrown away, but at the same point it was, all right, if it's under $100 in value, that equates to about $1 or 1 hour of our over like burn or whatever burden of a person. We're not going to get that money back trying to sell it or do anything
Right.
with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless there's something like we think we can for sure use this and we want to inventory it was the other metric as well. Like there's just pneumatic cylinders that like, yes, we're going to use these, or pneumatic fittings. Like, yeah, just get those in the right bins. But like these oddball custom threaded rods that we made 6 years ago, no, throw those in the trash. I don't care how much we paid for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the, I think it's easier too for like the staff that didn't pay for it, which is good and bad.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
I definitely see the dollars. I feel that. But the other way to look at it, Michael, is it costs money to move them. So every single
Oh,
time,
it costs money to store. I'm getting better about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single time somebody looks at it, thinks about it, touches it, it costs you money.
Yep. One general improvement, I'm just generally getting a lot more focused on cash flow. Maybe it's like me growing up as a business person. But a lot less shiny object syndrome. I'm like looking at the empty space in the other shop, and I'm like, oh, we're burning $5,000 a month plus $500 in miscellaneous utilities here, and I'm like looking at all this stuff and saying, oh, if we just rearrange things, or if we do things like refi these loans or whatever, that we can really help the business grow by focusing on cash flow, right? Which I'm really learning is a lot more important than just the P&L at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's it's something that goes through the growing process though, because at the beginning it can't be your main focus. You need to just focus on finding your market, and sometimes that's not the most profitable, but you need to find that market fit, which I think that's what you've done over the last several years. So I think you're in a standard, really solid progression.
Yeah, we've found our spot.
Good deal.
It just took a while. What about you? Company-wide improvements?
That was it. Pretty much filling
Okay,
trash
yeah.
cans this week as well.
Yeah.
It's
Just
been
cleaning
really
stuff out.
lots of cleaning and organization. We go through these what we call cleaning consolidating phases. We barely did one when we moved because from when we were in Sauk City and moved to Madison because we were so busy at the time.
Yeah.
And so we really haven't done one of these since COVID in the business. And so it's kind of needed was this little lull. So we're cleaning out projects, we're cleaning out inventory, we're getting organized. We're just becoming those little details to get ready to clean up like all these little tasks that just didn't get done too as a company over the last couple of years. Those are just getting checked off. So when we start this next project, we're set to be very efficient.
I got a random question. What's your head count out right now?
Right now it's 10 of us.
Yeah. Does it feel like just right? Too few, too many?
I'm gonna probably say just right. There's days where it's like we need another software team member, but I know it's a temporary pain. And then there's days where it's like everybody's not everybody, but there's a lot of people that are just doing cleanup tasks where it's like, oh man, we have more than we need, but it's like,
Mhm.
no, we have the right number because those tasks need to get done.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of sales that they're doing as well. Like, I really think we're properly staffed right now.
Yeah. I'm jealous. And the because it's been such a roller coaster for us in the staffing front of like, 4 to 14, then, kind of like trickling down, kind of weeding out a lot of the, maybe staff members that I hired too quickly.
Mhm.
Then, some of them were, or some things I think were definitely, like not having processes in place enough. And I'm really trying to force myself to hire slow, even now that I'm looking at like just how much work is on the horizon because I've made this mistake before.
Yeah, I can give you a story or an analogy to that. I think you heard some of it about last year, actually,
Hmm.
pretty much a couple weeks from now. We had one team member have some significant health issues, very critical in programming a lot of stuff on our machines. Uh, Made the tough decision to take 2 months to find the right fit for that. So posted the job, looked at over 300
Yep.
applicants, and hired what believed to be the right fit. Long term, I'm seeing that was the right call because they are what appears to be the right fit. They're really
Hmm.
good at software. They work well with the team. But I got to say, during those couple months of looking was very painful because you saw how much it was costing the company. And then as the onboarding happens, because it's not like you just put somebody in that place and you're gonna have a machinist working the first day. There's a training and onboarding. So then it was like you're watching the expenses go down, if you will, or the costs associated with not having that person slowly going away. But it's like, oh, if I could have done that sooner. But no, I think doing it right is the right call.
Yeah. It's just knowing I need to do multiple of those at the same time, and and wanting really to do it right. I mean, part of it is I know we just need to get the person who wants to build the system, not the person who wants to work in the system, right? The like especially with the machinist thing, like at this point I haven't opened Fusion for like 2 years. Like the I need someone who like, knows CAM, who wants to build the setups, who wants to standardize, who wants to like have, the calm workplace of, consistent flow, but also, just like has the passion for machining to do cool stuff. And I know that's a damn hard position to fill. And
Maybe that's what you should run. I mean, the best spot I think for that is Instagram to
yeah,
find that position. I mean, post some
yeah.
ads for that. That seems like the one you need to fill. You say you need multiple, but I
You're
think
right. I should just post like a cool machining ad with me just like talking in it and just
yeah.
limit it to the like greater Los Angeles area and see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, we run Indeed ads every single time I post a job posting.
Yeah,
I
we're
plan it.
doing that already, but
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
good.
But man, like the guys that I love are the ones who like can't help it, who like build a CNC router in their garage
Oh
or
yeah,
are just like,
it's a real addiction.
yeah, the because those guys they just can't help but to think about the project and what cool thing they can do at night, and those and they're just the most fun to work with.
Yeah, they're typically really loyal team members
Yeah.
too, is what I've seen is people that are that passionate about what you're doing. They're with you for the ups and the downs, and
Hmm.
they understand that it's not always sunshine and rainbows. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's because I love their job.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So next is what have you been Googling?
Um, a little. Hmm. What have I been Googling? Honestly, not much.
Okay.
Um, I've been living too much, more than I'd like to admit, in Gmail. Really trying to follow up all these sales leads. I have been. It's another thing I think I need to do better. I've been talking about needing to do HubSpot and stuff, and I'll make like an email template for something that goes out over and over. But the CRM is not our single source of truth. Um,
So
but
next thing you should do if you've got templates done and you're
mhm.
living in Gmail, do you use tasks at all?
A little, and
So
it's been getting worse with time.
I recommend using tasks and sequences. And what you do then is rather than sending all your emails from Gmail, you try and make
Mhm.
sure that they're at least linked.
They're linked, right?
Okay,
But
so you're
I'm not, like,
logging
sending them
those.
through HubSpot, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So as long as they're linked, so you've logged the email to your HubSpot and then you create a task that needs to get done, and then you can correlate your tasks based on that. And so it's like, I need to remember to email this person in 4 days because I set
Mhm.
a task to it. Or they're in the sequence and I know after I send this email, I got to call them.
Mhm.
It's those constant reminders because like right now I could pull up, I'm currently in the process of active leads right now. If I just look at my folders list here, like, I guess the metric doesn't really matter, but there. So I've got 169 plus 57 that I'm constantly engaging with. I can't
Yep.
keep all of those straight.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and I
So yeah, what
yeah.
290 or 226 total people that I'm talking to on a monthly basis. Um, I need constant tasks just saying, Matt, you need to talk to this. And like once I see the reminders, like, oh yeah, I remember talking to
Mhm.
Jim about his extrusion processing machine that needs to make 10,000 parts per year and
Yep.
has these modules on it. But man, I could have forgot about that response very easily.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, even, like, on our active projects, it's like we got, like, 2 testing coupon, automation projects. We have, like, 4 different 2-op automation palettes, and I can't even keep the companies straight, like, it's the same project with just a different part 4 times, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's getting tough.
Yeah. That'd be my next step. So if you want to just tackle one thing within HubSpot, that would be the one thing I'd focus on.
Yeah. It's funny you guys started on HubSpot so much later than us and just blasted right past us on it. Yeah.
I mean, I focus on sales and marketing for the last year, Michael. Like
Yeah,
that's
I'm
been
all
my
over the
role.
place.
Yeah,
I'm
like my goal has been getting as far into sales and marketing, and then eventually I'll probably go further into the marketing side of things as we hire up on the sales side. That's
Mhm.
where I'm really seeing what I want to do.
Yeah, you don't
But
have business ADHD. At
yeah,
least not as bad.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I do. I think that's something that tempers out. There's still a
Yeah,
decade between us. If you would have met
yeah,
Matt 10
yep.
years ago, I think
Mhm.
we're probably cut from a similar
Is
cloth.
there
Just like
a decade between us? You look
I
younger than
turned
that.
I turned 35 on April 12th coming up here.
So, not quite. I just turned 27.
Okay.
Yeah,
Late year. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
April
yeah,
12th.
I hope I mellow out a little bit and make my
It
life easier.
it happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird to say, but yeah, it starts happening on things. You just
Mhm.
experience creates learning lessons.
Yeah. What about you? Have you been Googling?
Have you heard of Alex Hermosi?
Oh god.
What?
Um, he's like the guy that everybody gets really into and, like, follows all the stuff, and then he's, like, a little I think, at least for me, he seems to be the guy that everyone's, like, all in on his stuff and then, like, kinda change their tune, and he's like, "Oh, he's a little bit of a guru," if you know what I mean.
What do you mean by that? Like changes their tune after doing it for a while? Because I just
Mhm.
started learning about
Yeah.
Alex. I was on the road for 5 hours, so I listened to one of his books this week. So
Mhm.
that's the extent of it. I listened to one of his books and a little bit of a podcast. But I was just curious.
Yeah, and I think the content is good, but I guess I just have, like, skepticism behind any person who, like, teaches you how to get rich and then, like, sells courses for, like, 10 grand, you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like the Grant Cardones and stuff like
Mhm,
that. Like
mhm.
I like listening to like some of that stuff, but yeah, they're definitely trying to sell you a course.
And I
That's very
guess,
clear.
like, that's because I've been down this rabbit hole, I thought, like, Grant Cardone was awesome for a while, and and I've done this a half dozen times, and I watched a bunch of Alex, Hormozy videos, and I think I did the same thing with, like, Gary Vee, and
Yeah.
then I at least for me, it's like I get, like, really enthusiastic about them, and I'll read a couple of their books or whatever, and then I'm like then I kinda come back to reality, and I'm like, "Ah, okay."
What was interesting to me is the amount of free stuff Alex gives away.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tools he gives away. I haven't dug into it a whole lot, but just interesting. Like he does have kind of a cool story. I mean,
Mhm.
I shouldn't say kind of, he has a pretty cool story of like how many times that guy was damn near broke or was broke and back against the wall. Like
Yep.
he's not afraid of a fight. I will say that. And from what I can gather, he still appears to be a very humble dude,
Yeah.
but I'm still early in the journey. So that
The
was what I've been
content is good,
Googling.
and all the advice is good, that's what I'll say, which isn't true with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing too for me is, like, I've had a tumultuous path to get here, and the more hectic, like, kinda people I'm, like, looking up to, it seems the more hectic it seems like they got there, the less I tend to listen to them, because it's like, I want a more smooth linear path than I've ever had before. So I don't need this, people telling me like, go all in,
Yeah, no, I hear you there. It's I'm saying like him being back against the wall, he just has some interesting stories. And I think that's similar to some things that you and I have both done is
hmm
we did go aggressive at
Yeah.
times when, you just don't know. Like
hmm
there's things you just like looking back, it's like, yeah, that was a wrong call, but I didn't know at the time. It seemed right.
Yeah.
So I don't
We
know.
we have so many of those. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we could make that a fun one. That actually is probably a good segue into the something personal, right?
Yeah, sure.
I've had a request for we've talked about the Q&A, so I'm gonna
hmm
end with I would love to change the personal stuff to something Q&A where people ask
Oh
us
yeah.
something about us.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna start doing to do something around this is once a week I'm gonna post a Q&A on Instagram where you can ask us questions. I'm gonna answer some there, and I'm gonna pick one that I'm gonna answer the following week on here.
Cool. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Tag me
anybody,
and I'll share it too.
yeah, so anybody that is listening, make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's your hint if you want to put Q&A in, and that's the way I'm going to approach that answering a
Cool.
question, because it's like I can only talk about Mr. Milo so much, the family farm so much, where it's like, what do people want to learn about
Yeah.
Matt and the business?
Yep.
Was kind of the question.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you still got to give me a personal thing for this week because you don't have a question.
Something. Oh, dude, I didn't
Yep.
put anything. I called you dude. That was interesting.
Right. And like we're becoming friends, not just colleagues.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yep.
Oh man, what am I going to talk about for something personal? I'll let you go first and I'll think about it a little bit.
I mean, it's getting into just like wedding prep, right?
Yeah.
It's really creeping up here. So I think we got like another work week, and then we're off to Oahu, and small wedding. Um, it's exciting but stressful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting down like the YouTube like watch and car rabbit hole again, which is
Uh-oh.
like, yeah, and I have like 3 really nice expensive watches, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let myself buy another one. Like I don't even wear like all of them very often. Luckily I have no interest in buying a car, but they're just like watching YouTube videos. So
Oh
I
yeah.
guess that is something I've been Googling, but
Okay.
more out of curiosity that I've got to stop from letting it turn into lifestyle creep. I refuse to do that again.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense. To the wedding, I have something
hmm
personal to share there.
Okay.
Something will go wrong, Michael, in the wedding.
Yeah.
I guarantee it, and I'd recommend saying this to Priscilla as well. Somebody gave Amanda and I advice on. Something's
hmm
going to go wrong. Don't let that ruin the night.
Yep.
So I found out like a week later that we got the wrong wedding cake.
hmm
Where like I think a lot of brides would have let that ruin the day, if you will, or ruin a portion of that night.
Yep.
And it was like Amanda's like, I heard that. Don't let something that goes wrong ruin the night. So that's probably my something personal there,
Yeah.
because it's still going to be a great night even if you get the wrong cake.
Oh yeah. And the good news, like our wedding is gonna be so chill. I mean, it's like literally a 45-minute like ceremony on the beach. Like we're
It's
not
gonna
even
be
wearing shoes.
okay.
The and we're like going to dinner after. It's not like any of the weddings I've ever been to. It's more like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yours
So
sounds even more laid back, 'cause ours was 40 some people. I forget the exact number. It was shoeless on the beach as well. But yeah,
yeah.
yours is quite a bit smaller, which I think you're gonna really be happy you did that, because the people that are there are there.
hmm
Like when
Yeah.
we did the dance, it was comical. Like Amanda's aunts were out until they shut down the dance floor, and they're like, I'd never seen that side of them. And then like
hmm
half the people jumped in the pool at the end of the night.
Yeah, when I was getting fitted for the suit, the guy was like asking about like the length of like the cuff, and we're like, what do you mean? Like there's no shoes, just like hem it wherever.
Yeah, perfect. Flip
Yeah,
flops.
yeah,
You'll need
flip
flip
flops.
flops. There you go. I'm for flip flops.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening to Matt and I's conversation this week on the Manufacturing Automation Podcast. If you like the podcast, please share it with a friend or give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week to continue sharing our respective journeys in life, business, and industrial automation. Thanks so much.